Polytechnique, directed by Denis Villeneuve, considered by some people his first real feature film, even though that is not factually true. He has made two movies back in the 1990s, but was unhappy with how they turned out. He basically said, I'm gonna take a break, I'm gonna quit filmmaking for a while, be a stay-at-home dad, and once I feel I have something to say again, cinematically, I'll come back. That break lasted 9 years, and after coming back, Polytechnique was the first film Denis made, starting his fantastic streak that continues to this day, followed by Incendies, Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, Arrival, and finally Blade Runner 2049. I have not yet seen a bad film made by this guy, and so I wanted to go all the way back and check the first one from the list. So, how was Polytechnique? I think it's solid. Maybe not as good as most of the next ones, but it shows promise already, and in it, you can sort of see Denis begin to develop some of the techniques and elements that he would later perfect in his movies. Polytechnique itself is based on real events, the most deadly mass shooting in the history of Canada that took place at École Polytechnique de Montreal in 1989. An armed student opened fire to female engineering students, killing 14 of them before committing suicide. The film is shot in black and white. It shows us the university right before the shooting, then the massacre itself, and the aftermath from the perspective of two fictionalized students. What I like most about it is its non-linear structure. We first follow the events in a single timeline, and then we skip back for a moment and then forward, which I think enhances the storytelling. Once you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It gives more of an emotional impact because of the order in which events are presented. And the second thing that I really enjoyed is the treatment of the killer. Oftentimes when filming movies based on tragedies like this one, there is that fear of making the murderer into a superstar, thus providing motivation for potential copycats. You know, some people that do it for fame and so their name is remembered. And we often hear that what the media especially should do is give as little coverage as possible to the killers themselves and try to focus on the facts and the victims instead. And that is what Polytechnique does. I think the killer is not the main character here. Well, definitely isn't. And in fact, he isn't even named in the entire film, which is a great decision, if you ask me. He certainly is an important character and is played in a truly haunting way by Maxime Gaudet, but he's not central. The spotlight belongs to two other student characters, Jean-François and Valérie. They are the ones we're supposed to connect with. The killer is not really humanized in any way. He's shown for what he was, a brutal monster. Probably not quite right in the head. And what the film lingers on for the longest time instead is the aftermath and the impact that the event had on those that were lucky enough to survive it. How they deal with the experience and what scars it leaves on them, and how they move on with their lives. I think that's done in a melancholic, sad, yet delicate and respectful way. It doesn't prey on those victims, but rather honors them instead, while at the same time being a pretty raw retelling of that dark event in Canada's history. The cinematography is very deliberate, especially with the camera angles, the play on focus and placement of some of the shots. The technical aspects really serve the way Denis wanted to tell the story. I also really like the way music does a similar thing, especially this slightly unnerving, anxious piece that's played in the minutes leading up to the shooting. All in all, Polytechnique is a really good film. Certainly not a happy or easy one, but worth a watch anyway, especially if you're interested in other works of Denis or the historical value of the events being presented.